My name is Rowan, and today I'm going to be talking about the idea that I'm sure a few people have had, but I'm not sure, I can't find anything on the internet. Basically, what if we combined Vedic astrology, as it is, all of you Jyotishis out there, all of you Vedic astrologers, and we combine this with human design, this kind of more modern system that's come out since the 1980s, that's gained a lot of traction recently. It's likely that if you're into your astrology, you've heard of human design, and obviously if you're into human design, it's all based off of astrology. So why don't we combine these two in such a way to get maximum self-development value out of it, maximum self-awareness, self-knowledge out of it? Because I really don't think that they are contradictory. I really don't think that there is any reason why they both shouldn't be used. I've only found a couple of people on the internet, literally a handful of people from my research. This is part of the reason why I'm putting out this video, is to see if there's anyone out there who wants to discuss this topic of blending Jyotish, the classic Vedic astrology, and the iteration of the Vedic astrology, which uses the tropical zodiac, as does human design, and blending this with human design. I've only had a conversation with one person, and that's John Cole, who is one of the hosts of the Human Design Collective podcast. And whilst he's mainly human design, he's said to me he'll get out a Vedic astrology chart as well, because we can't ignore either. I would really like to learn to integrate both. However, I am a relatively poor 27-year-old and haven't done quite so well in my career as I'd like to. And I've only just gotten into this topic in the last couple of years after doing a classic early 20s scramble for self-identity. I eventually stumbled across these systems. And if there's anyone out there who's interested in the topic of blending classic Vedic astrology with human design, and I'm also thinking about blending it with integral theory, I've only seen one example, one website, and it's not a person, it's just a website, and it seems like it's an old website of someone who's integrating integral theory, the stages of development, essentially spiral dynamics of the stages of development, with human design. And I think there's huge, huge potential there that no one in astrology or human design or integral theory has seen. You can put those two together. Because if we can take Jyotish, which is classic for learning about the characteristics and the events, and human design, which I think is more focused on the characteristics, blending the insights of those two to get a really in-depth self-understanding for the client. And then with the integral theory, with the spiral dynamics, being able to identify which stage of development that person is at and how they can maybe use the discoveries of the charts to develop themselves into that next stage, and to integrate the current stage that they're at. Because this is one thing that even KRS, that famous YouTube astrologer, has said before, and I'm sure other people have noticed it, is that no matter if it's an astrology chart or a human design chart, you can never tell the stage of consciousness that person is in. Can you look at those two charts and tell me if someone is ethnocentric without, an ethnocentric type, the ethnocentric stage of development? Doesn't matter if they're a very conservative Jewish person, Islamic person, very conservative Christian person, or a nationalist, something at that ethnocentric stage of development. Well, I'm sure the astrologers would say, I'd probably look for strong Cancer placements, Mars in Cancer or fourth house Mars in Cancer. It's kind of a stretch, but to be honest, if you can get the charts of saints and sages, people who have a highly developed state of consciousness and stage of consciousness, and if you didn't tell the astrologer that person was a saint, I mean, they'd get a good impression that this is a highly developed person. But how do we really nail down which stage of development they're at? Are they at an ethnocentric stage, world-centric stage, or planetary centric stage? Are they ethnocentric? Are they rational, individual? Are they pluralistic, relativistic? How would they know what stage they're at? And how would they know which goals that they need to achieve and pursue to integrate the current stage and go on to the next stage? So, for example, you may tell a client, using their Jyotish charts and their human design charts, give them exceptional clarity on their individual characteristics. But how do they know which goals to go for? Well, if they're at stage blue, they go to church or the mosque or wherever to, and they're more on an ethnocentric viewpoint. They are that classic spiral dynamic stage blue, hard work, army, military, traditional family values, that 1950s values. Maybe someone who's suspicious of their mega church pastor that they watch on the TV because he's allegedly a Christian or a Hindu or a Jew, but he's a millionaire, so I'm very, very against that. Well, we know that person has got some issues between stage blue and stage orange, right? Between the collectivist, ethnocentric, and the individualist, world-centric stage. And we could say, well, this is your characteristics based on these charts, and here's going to be a very logically structured goal for you to go into. I want you to enhance yourself in your career. Use these traits to get that job promotion. Use these traits to set up that business that you were thinking about. Elevate yourself from this stage of development to the next stage of development using either Ken Wilber's model or the spiral dynamics model, or Suzanne Cook-Greuter's model. There's a few different developmental psychologists who've got stages of around 8 to 10. Basically, I'm just putting this out there because I'm struggling to find the community for people who are interested in this. I can't find any discussion on YouTube at all about maybe combining Jyotish or tropical Vedic astrology with human design and then applying it to integral theory, stages of development, waking up, and all of the insights that integral theory has. I think I'd like to start a practice of that myself, but there's a hell of a lot of learning involved. I'd really like to learn all those courses from Ernst Wilhelm, the tropical Vedic astrologer, Victor Kara, Ryan Kurzak, and then be able to get trained up from the International Human Design School, and combine those skills and then bring integral theory into that. I think there's huge potential. But I want to put this into the algorithm to see if there's anyone interested in this. So if you have any brief interest in this, even if you don't comment on YouTube videos or anything, just please give me a quick comment or a message, because I feel like there's a very small amount of people on the internet who are interested in these sorts of topics. So if you've ever been interested in blending Jyotish with human design and then integral theory, spiral dynamics, interest in any of these topics, please give me a message. We'll have a conversation.